Today's date is March 8th, 1994. I'm Blake Hailey, and we're pleased to have with us Dr. John Gaugl, Associate Professor in the Department of Physiology. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Here at the University of North Texas Health Science Center at Fort Worth. And we're making this videotape in the Biomed Communication Center of the Gibson D. Lewis Health Science Library. And Dr. Gaugl, after saying all that, now I'm going to let you say some things, if you could. I'd like to go back to your prior experience, a little bit of background, long before you came to TCOM, if we could.
How far behind?
Well, however far you want to go back. It's always interesting just to see what you did before you got here.
I spent my adolescent years in Dallas, South Oak Cliff High School. Went to college at North Texas State University, received my BA and MA from North Texas State in biology, and then went to the University of California at Berkeley for my Ph.D. I spent the time out there from 1961 to 1970 during the very tumultuous years on the campus. And then I taught for a year in the Department of Exercise Physiology. Then I started putting out applications to come back to Texas. One of the applications I put in was to TCU. And Dr. Hart, who was our first dean, who at the time was looking for faculty, had access to the academic file, to the personnel file at TCU, and got my application and contacted me, and I came here.
Oh, and you've been here since, so that would be
1971.
1971. What are some of the things you've done here at TCOM, or which is now the Health Science Center?
Well, I was chairman of the Department of Physiology from 1971 to 1981, and served on a number of college and departmental committees, admission committee, curriculum committee. I was in the first curriculum committee back in 1971 and 72. Recently, I was put in charge of an ad hoc committee to revise the faculty handbook, and we just put out a second revision of that the past few months.
So you're keeping quite busy then, it sounds like, on some of the committees then.
Committees, I'm course director and have been for a year or two now in physiology. And our course, as well as most of the others in the college now, are undergoing a lot of change, revision, and updating, and it's my responsibility to make sure that is carried out in our department.
Oh, okay. What are some of the research things perhaps you've been involved with in the past, or maybe you're currently working on as far as research projects go?
Generally, I do research in the area of cardiovascular physiology. I've been working with two teams, actually, one with Drs. Caffrey and Barron in the area of the peptide regulation of cardiovascular physiology, endorphins, enkephalins, that type of thing. In the second general area, I'm working with Dr. Fred Downey's group in the area of the regulation of coronary circulation. And of particular interest to us is the regulation of right coronary circulation, since there appears to be many differences between it and the left.
Interesting. So this is an ongoing research project you're involved in now then, right?
It is. I've been forced to reduce it somewhat because of the academic activities, which take a lot of my time now. But yes, I'm still in the lab. Oh,
I bet that does take a lot of time. There was a number of years ago, I believe in the late 70s or early 80s, I don't have the date in front of me, but an institute for human fitness that you were involved in starting. Whatever happened to that particular organization? I was curious about that.
Well, whatever happened to it died a natural death. How it got started was that there were a number of us in the late 70s, 1978, I believe, is when we got together and started talking about it, who were interested in the general area of health and physical fitness, and knowing that the osteopathic profession puts a large premium on self-health and not only disease prevention, but health maintenance, that we thought it would be a good idea if we could organize such an institute and get the college at that time to support it. Our first meeting was at the house of Dr. Joel Alter, who was a surgeon at that particular time on our faculty. I was there, Dr. Bob Kamen was there, and there were several other representatives from the community who also were in on the founding of that. As you may know, the Institute took over a building down at the River Plaza complex after the basic sciences moved out of that back in the mid to late 70s. And for several years had a very strong ongoing program, both in the areas of activities, education, and in research. But even though the Institute received several grants, for example, for testing of Fort Worth firemen and policemen, there wasn't enough money coming in to support the Institute, and the college felt that it needed to be self-sufficient or it couldn't exist. And so it went out of existence.
No way to get the funds in to bring in, huh?
That's right.
I'm curious as to your thoughts on why it was necessary for TCOM to become the UNT Health Science Center. How do you see that as a good thing for the school, for the growth and success of it?
There are many health-related professions that support physicians. Obviously, nurses, laboratory personnel, physician's assistants, to name just a few of the many that are available, who don't have training in osteopathic theory or philosophy or technique. And I see it as an advantage to be able to help train these health associates along with the philosophy of osteopathic medicine. There is also, of course, the practical advantage of being able to have a higher visibility in the community and to, most likely, we certainly hope to be able to be more readily funded because of that.
How do you see things as far as the Health Science Center is concerned in the community? Do we have looking pretty good for us, do you think? Got some good community support?
Well, I'm not in that aspect of the institution, so I don't know that for a fact. I suspect it certainly ought to.
Right.
And I'm certainly hoping that it will garner the community support for the institution.
How do you see this Health Science Center, or what does it have to offer that the other, I believe there are 6 Health Science Centers in Texas, don't have?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, certainly the philosophy is going to be different. Right now we're small. All we have is the medical school and the graduate school of biomedical, graduate school of biomedical sciences, right?
Right.
And we certainly will be adding more of those medically related professions in the future. What do we have to offer that they do right now, that other centers don't right now?
Right.
Probably not a whole lot, but we will.
Well, that brings me to a point then. What do you see some challenges are, and maybe you mentioned that some other programs that will be added. What would you like to see added in the future? What challenges will the Health Science Center face in the next few years?
Well, there'd be the physical challenges of getting more land for a larger campus, and I suspect there might be some community opposition to that. I don't know. We need to continue to upgrade the quality of all of our professions, the medical school, the graduate school, and to make sure that whatever other services and professions come on board will be of the highest quality.
What do you see challenges for yourself coming up in the future?
As I mentioned earlier, I'm course director, and I think that developing that course into what it needs to be to continue the evolution, we haven't had a revolution, but a continuing evolution in the course, is going to be an ongoing challenge for me for the next at least half decade, I suppose. There is a growing demand, if you will, throughout the medical profession that the basic sciences be more clinically relevant, be more accessible to the students with regard to clinical cases. The national board examinations, as well as the USMLE, are all requiring that the questions and the students be able to answer questions that are case-based.
Mm-hmm.
And up until now, and even at this point, many colleges and institutions around the country are still very traditional, and it's a challenge to all of us to go beyond that.
So the Health Science Center is changing that now then, and going more toward that way.
Yes.
The case-based situation.
Yes.
How do you see, what are the things you see changing in your role in the Department of Physiology and what you're doing? What other things do you see changing in the next few years for this creation of the Health Science Center?
Well, like I said, I don't think it's going to be a major change. It's going to be any revolution, it's an evolution. There will always be an emphasis on research, and even those of us who are more deeply involved in the academics will still be required and desire to do research. And so there's always wide open fields for that, so I'll continue with that, and along with the course on the students.
Boy, I don't know how you have time to do research with all the other academic parts that you're doing and committees that you serve on. We've covered a number of topics here, Dr. Gaugl. I'm sure I've missed some things. Are there some subjects, areas you'd like to bring up, or some things you'd like to mention that I haven't already asked you about off the top of your head?
Well, there are some of the early development of the college that a few of us around here still are able to witness that that you might be interested in, but you might have, Dr. Harris and Dr. Libby Harris and Dr. Mary Shunder were here for the very first year of the college in 1970-71. I came on board the second year, 1971-72, and they and I have taught every one of TCOM's graduates. So every TCOM graduate out there is, to some extent, the product of what we've been able to accomplish. There has been many moves, both physically and administratively, that have occurred during the last couple of decades. Association with North Texas, the sometimes rough pathway that we had during that time, and then the coming back to the Fort Worth campus, which I believe was a good thing for us.
You say there's a rough time with North Texas. Is there any specific events you can recall that you'd like to bring up concerning that change from a private institution to state-supported?
Well, there are differences in philosophy, perhaps, when those of us who were originally with TCOM went up to the North Texas campus for the 4 or 5 years that we were up there, and intermingled with the ongoing North Texas faculty to teach the basic science courses. And like I say, sometimes there were differences of opinion as to what should be taught, who should be the teaching, and what should be the role of our faculty and their faculty in the osteopathic college.
Has it always been kind of a, well, not a strained, but maybe a tough relationship with North Texas? Have there been, it's kind of leveled off, I assume, with the North Texas faculty and the Health Science Center now?
Oh, I think so, yeah. I think the marriage has gone along a lot smoother now in its later years than it did in the first. I think that both institutions see the mutual benefit and advantages of being together. And I see nothing but good for the relationship in the future.
It sounds like to me that everybody refers to it as a marriage, and it's like it's been a relatively successful marriage then, and there's a lot of talk about working between the two campuses with other departments at North Texas and here to advance the Health Science Center. I assume there's a lot of possibilities then as far as linkage between departments and the Health Science Center.
Linkage between us and North Texas?
Right, with the education and maybe business and those types of departments. Do you see a lot of...
There's been talk of that for years now, and not too much has come from it. One would think that, for example, with the business school and the history department, that we might have more linkages, and but it just hasn't happened. And that 36 miles between us is a big distance. Those of us who traveled it during the early years know how big it is. And maybe in the future it'll come out.
I guess distance is a problem. I mean, it's not that far, but then it is a good distance away.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other things you'd like to bring up that you want to explore off the top of your head?
Oh, I think you've done a pretty good job. I appreciate being here.
Well, Dr. Gaugl, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. I know that you've been a great asset to the UNT Health Science Center, and will continue to be as in the research and definitely in the educational aspect of it, and the school's indebted and glad you're a part of it. And thank you again for taking time to meet with us.
Thank you.
And with that, I will conclude this interview. Thank you and have a pleasant day.